My voice carries.
It always has.
Yep.
All right. What's going on, folks? Welcome back to Moair. Today on the podcast, we're going to have Bill Runyon, who's been here at UCM the entire time I was getting all my ratings. And he was also the one that checked me out in my tail wheel, which was probably the most fun I've ever had flying an airplane. I'm going to introduce you here to Bill. Go ahead, Bill.
Bill Runyon.
How long have you been here at UCM?
I came here in 1988.
1988.
So
A little bit before I was born.
Yeah.
That's all right.
yeah, been here a long time.
Yeah.
I was gone for 3 years, but I've been here most of that time.
That's awesome. And then what got you started in aviation? So like from the time you were a little bitty, what was the first memory?
Well, how much time do you have?
Well, I don't know back to 88, but no, we're good.
When I was in high school, I had a job with a combine threshing guy, a combine, a big brand combines, custom harvesting. And he owned an airplane. And one day, the weather was bad or something, we couldn't combine. And so he says, "You want to go for a ride?" And what 17-year-old kid doesn't want to go for a ride? Of course I want to go for a ride. So he took me out to his airplane. I remember it's still a Cherokee, a Piper Cherokee. And we flew, I don't know, a half hour, came in and landed. And about 20 years later, I went back to him and said, "I want to tell you thank you. That was the first flight I'd ever had, and it got me thinking about aviation, and I wanted to thank him." "Oh yeah," he says, "that flight was as illegal as all get out. I was a student pilot." Of course, at 17, I don't know if I'd have known what that meant if he said he was a student pilot.
You
but
still would have went. Yeah.
Probably.
Yeah, we all would have. That's all right.
But it worked out fine, but it got me started thinking about, wonder if I can do this for a living.
Yeah, that's awesome. Jeez. So at 17, you had your first flight, albeit not a legal flight, but it was still your first flight. And then where did you go from there? Did you end up going to school for aviation?
No. And when I was in high school, I wanted to. And nobody in my family or in my school, of course, it was the end of the Vietnam era. And the way the lady counselor said at schools, there's pilots standing on every street corner. You'll never find a job as a pilot. And so I just gave up. And of course, nobody in my family, it was too expensive. Nobody in my church was supportive of it, so I just gave up. Went to college, was going to go in for science originally. Middle part of that, I got called into the ministry by the Lord, and so I went into the ministry, and it wasn't until I'd pastored for 3 years that I took a sabbatical, and during the sabbatical business that I was a part of, had a guest speaker that was talking about, he said, "Some of you people," and I still remember the day that happened, it was in Waco, Texas, "some of you have had a dream that you've let the whole world talk you out of." And it was in that moment in my life, the Holy Spirit tapped me on the shoulder and said, "Bill, when you were 7 years old, I called you to be a pilot, and you let the whole world talk you into something else." I couldn't believe it. My mouth must have dropped wide open. Anyway, I came back home and went flying with a vengeance. I did all of my flight training on my own, paid for it. I didn't go to college for flight training because that wasn't really where I thought I was headed. I was just doing it for the fun of it to start with. But the more I got into it, I just kept meeting benchmark after benchmark till finally in about 3 years, I had my CFI. Went from 0 to CFI in about 3 years.
That's insane.
Yeah.
So
It was fun.
You were hitting it hard.
I was hitting it hard.
Yeah. So where was
But
your...
I had the green light, so that's
right?
what...
Hey, that's all that matters. Where's your first CFI job at?
Down at Harrisonville, Missouri. The Calvary Bible College had a 141 program down there.
Oh, really?
And I taught down there for a year and a half, not quite 2 years before I came here.
Oh, wow.
And then I've been here ever since.
I didn't know Calvary had a 141 program.
They did.
That's really cool.
Yep.
What kind of airplane did you fly down there?
They had a little bit of everything. They had a Cherokee, they had a Mooney for their complex, they had some 152s, 150 I guess it was. They just had an oddball assortment of airplanes.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
Awesome. So, and then whenever I met you here, I was a student, and you were one of the chief flight instructors at the time.
Assistant chief, yeah.
Yep. So, back then, you were one of the check instructors as well. So you did almost I don't know, probably all but 2 of my check flights that we had here.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
So at the time, you had the reputation of being like the tough guy, right?
Sorry.
Everybody was scared to fly with Bill. No, I never saw that side of you, though. Like, the only thing that I ever saw, like, that you kind of got onto me for was taxiing too fast. But I was probably taxiing too fast, let's be honest. But, yeah, no, everybody thought that you were, like, the tough guy. And I never saw that side because I just thought, you were by the book, and if something was
I try to be.
If something was messed up, you're not going to sugarcoat it. You're going to be like, hey, you messed that up, we need to do it again. And I guess some people can't take that, but I appreciated it. I thought it was great. So I just want to say thank you for all that because it made me to be a better pilot now. So moving on past that, once you got out of Calvary and you came here, how did that start changing the way that you saw where your life was headed? Did you know you were just going to stay and do instruction the entire time?
I pastored a small church, a rural church. That's why I came here originally. I didn't have the job here first. I came here because of the church. And the first thing the church board told me to the first meeting, which would have been in April or May of 1988, we can't afford to pay you a full-time salary. You'll have to find a job somewhere else. And I go, I know right where to go look.
Yeah, I got this one, guys.
And I come over and talk to Bob Mock, and he says, well, I can't use you now, but I can use you in August. And I went to work in August of 88 and been here all but 3 years. And had an interim in there where I wasn't there.
That's awesome. I remember another thing about you from back whenever I was here. Every time I saw you that you weren't teaching, you were out polishing this 140, I think it was, wasn't it?
Yeah, I owned a 140.
Yeah. That thing was super shiny.
Yep.
Good looking airplane. It flew good. How long did you own that aircraft?
15 years.
15 years. Yeah. Wow. That's awesome. So how did you come about like picking that as your personal airplane?
Well, I'd had a Piper Pacer in my early years. And then when it was gone, I bought an ultralight. I had an ultralight. Everybody thought I'd gone to the dark side here, which is okay. It didn't bother me. And I owned an ultralight for 13 years and then finally sold it because I wanted the 2-seat production airplane. Yeah. But I've always owned tail-wheel airplanes, and that was my tail-wheel airplane.
There you go.
Yep.
That's awesome. So speaking of that airplane, as far as the new rules are going, I'm sure you keep your thumb on the new rules since you're here, obviously, but have you heard about Mosaic?
I've heard about it. I don't understand all of it, but I've heard about it.
Okay, so part of Mosaic is that they're opening up what qualifies as a sport pilot.
Right.
Like what their qualifications can do, and also what a light sport aircraft qualifies as, right?
Right.
So with smaller airplanes like the 150, the 140s, even a 172, correct, some 182s, depending on their setup, will qualify for the Mosaic for sport pilots to fly. Do you think that's going to be a good thing or a bad thing for aviation in general?
I guess we'll have to wait and see. The emphasis for years has been on trying to get people into aviation because our numbers keep dwindling, and we need a new generation of aviators is what we need. And so we'll just have to wait and see. Originally, the push was to have more aircraft like your foreign composite aircraft that are cheaper to make and usually require less training and cheaper to fly. However, I don't think that's progressed the way the FAA thought it would. So now there's a push to enlarge what we already have for trainers and let people train in that.
Right. So 2004 is when the light sport rule came about, correct? Mm-hmm. So that was what you're talking about. Whenever they first came out, it was emphasized for some of the smaller, easier to fly aircraft.
Less cost. The whole purpose was to get it done and less cost. Less hours of flight training, less cost in the airplane, everything all the way around.
Right. Do you think that part of the reason for the change now is that because people that went and got their sport pilot never really progressed past that? They just stayed using their...
I don't know, because I don't know very many people that got the sport pilot.
Okay.
So I don't know that it's really changed. I'm sure it's changed some, but in the world we're in here, we're working on people that's going to go to the airline. Sport pilot doesn't really register here.
Right.
It's kind of sad because even things like I've done gliders for years in the tail wheel, and for most people that's just a sideline. That does not help me get to the airlines. I don't care about that.
Right. I forgot about the glider being here because you were the only instructor that did glider stuff whenever we were here.
Yeah.
So you guys still do that here?
No. We don't have a glider field to do it from is the problem.
Oh, really?
We still got the glider. We just don't have the strip.
Oh, say, didn't we used to use the grass on the other
side? We did, and that was destroyed when they did an airport improvement, and they never restored it to the way they said they were going to restore it to.
Oh, wow. So where do we do the banner hook catch at now? Do you still do banner towing?
I can do that off of anywhere. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
No, that part was let lapse 2 years ago, 3 years ago as well.
Oh, wow. Okay, well, those were all fun things.
They are.
Whenever I was here. I mean, I never got to fly the glider because whenever I was here, I was a little hefty, and I didn't meet the weight requirement. You had to be under, 190? I think
Something
it was
like
for
that,
yeah. The banner towing was insane. Watching you grab that thing, catch that hook on there. Never knew how they got the banners up until I came here.
Yeah.
And just watching you catch that thing and just,
Yep.
That was crazy. So how long have you been doing that kind of stuff?
Oh, maybe 20 years. I don't know.
Yeah. And did you first start that here?
Yes.
Oh,
yeah.
wow. That's awesome. So
They had the equipment and nobody was using it. And finally, and there was a reason why they weren't using it, but finally I talked the powers to be to let me go get the training, which a guy over at Wings Unlimited over at Olathe taught me what he knew about banner towing. And if they gave us a certificate, and we started towing banners.
There you go. Ain't nothing wrong with that.
Yep.
That's awesome. So were you the only one that was certified here for a while?
Yes. I got other people certified that were going to do it other places, but they weren't certified to tow here.
Okay. That's cool. I never knew how that worked out.
Yeah.
I just saw you do it, and I thought it was awesome.
Yep.
So no more glider, no more banner towing. You guys still have all of the flight simulators, the full motion simulators and stuff like that here?
Yes. Well, Redbirds are not what you call full motion simulators. They do have motion to them, but yes, they still have those. They're up in still where they were at Big Hangar 3.
Big Hangar 3, okay. And I just saw your new Frasca.
Frasca.
I think it's cool.
We have 3 of those now. 1 here, and I think 2 on campus.
Awesome. So how many aircraft are we up to here at UCM now?
You'll have to ask one of the check instructors. I think it's around 16.
Oh, wow. That's good. And then you got multis, singles,
Right.
Complex.
Right?
Yeah.
No, complex has been removed because the requirement, you
'Cause
no
you got
longer have
TAA
to.
now.
Almost every aircraft. Cub probably is the only one that's not TAA.
That's fair.
All the rest of them are TAA, and so you don't really need the complex anymore.
I forgot
And you can
about
get
that.
the complex and the multi if you want to go that route, but
Yeah.
TAA covers that.
I forgot.
You maybe ought to explain to them what TAA is.
Oh, sorry. Technologically advanced aircraft. So if you have moving maps and or PFDs and stuff like that,
And an autopilot
and an
that syncs to
autopilot
it.
that syncs to it, you don't have to get complex aircraft anymore to count for your commercial. You can do 10 hours, I think is what it is in your commercial for TAA, and that
I believe
counts.
that's right. Yeah.
So, Bill, you've been here for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
You've seen people come and go. What is one of the, I would say not craziest because that sounds bad, but like one of the wildest situations you've ever been in with a student pilot? Like one that like scared you a little bit?
To be honest, I haven't been in very many situations at all because most of the time we don't let it get that far. So
That's fair.
that's our job, is to see to it everybody comes back in one piece. So
That is fair.
as a flight instructor, so usually they don't get that far. I've had a few where students did stalls at low altitude that turned a little gnarlier than we wanted it to.
Right, yeah.
But they're all recoverable. So
That's good. Okay, well, that was a little less eventful than I thought it was going to be. So
most people are scared to death of flight instructing. For the most part, it doesn't bother me because once a student gets past the solo phase and even past the private pilot phase, they're able to land the airplane, and so they know what they're doing. I'm fine-tuning what they do.
Yeah.
I heard a saying a long time ago that has stuck with me. A good flight instructor every day is working himself out of a job. When your student's ready to go take a check ride, he's done with you for now.
Right.
And that's what your job is, to work him till, give him the training he needs until he's ready to move on and doesn't need you anymore. So every good flight instructor is working himself out of a job every day.
I've never heard that, but that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
You've been here a long time. You've never had any real scary moments. You've seen a lot of students come and go. Seen a lot of students make it to the airlines. A lot of students change their path, go different routes. However, what is the reason that you stuck? Like, why did you stay here and continue to instruct and help students move on?
Well, part of the anchor that kept me in this location was pastoring a church. That was always my first priority. That's what God called me to do. But I was allowed to do this as well at the same time. So I didn't expect to stay here this long at the church because it's an independent church and they can fire you at any time. They don't really need a reason. And so I thought, I'll be there 3 or 4 years. I'll make somebody mad and they'll be throwing me out. I'll move along. And that never happened. I stayed in the same church for 30 years.
Wow.
And so that was an anchor that allowed me to do this because they couldn't pay me full time. They didn't attempt to.
Right.
So anyway, it allowed me to do this. And I really didn't know that I would do this for as long as I've done it. But it was here and the Lord just always kept me here. And so I just thought, way to go, God, thank you.
That's awesome. Yeah. Well, if you look at it from all of the students' perspective too, it's kind of also helped out a lot of people get to where they want to be because, without people like you around, if it's continuous revolving door,
right,
you're always going to have different things and people are going to slip through the cracks or something's going to happen to where they don't feel comfortable to keep going. You know what I mean?
Right.
So if you always have an anchor, like
right.
you had the church, well, to the students, you are the anchor. So you can keep moving on, and they always have somebody to come to if they need something. So God also works for other people, not
good.
just for you.
Good. Right.
Yeah.
Right.
But anyway, so as I had mentioned in the early part of this episode, you helped me get my tail wheel endorsement, and that was the most fun I've ever had in an airplane. I don't know. I know you said you've only owned tail wheels, but I had never flown a tail wheel before that moment. And I've never flown one again, but I really want to get back into it.
Okay.
It hadn't been on the cards.
The Super Cub that we own here is one of the easier airplanes to fly as far as tail wheel goes. So
Yeah. Well,
it's a fun airplane.
Maybe
it's
that's
a fun
why it
airplane
was
for
fun.
a trainer. Yeah.
Maybe it was fun because I didn't have to worry about it that much. Yeah. But it was awesome because you taught me with the wheel landings, the hardest part of that was to push forward.
Yes.
I that was so scared.
Yes. Scary for me. If a guy goes a little too far forward or taps the brakes, you're in deep trouble.
Right, yeah. Well, you'd be tapping me on the shoulder pretty quick at that point. But yeah, anytime they ask about tail wheel flying, I'm like, yeah, you got to go to UCM and fly with Bill Runyon because it was super easy. Everything was fun. I was never once nervous about flying the airplane except for that very first wheel landing. But after that, we had a great time.
Well, I am being replaced here.
You are?
Heather Stogsdill. I've been retired for 4 years. Nobody wanted to take the niche on the tail wheel training involved. And finally, a gal, Heather Stogsdill, she's a check instructor now. But anyway, she said she was interested and she's done all the training she needs to do. And she's starting to take students now. And
nice.
Eventually, she'll take everything.
Well, that's fun.
Yeah.
It'll be a new face for the tail wheel out here.
Right.
But yeah, isn't it super expensive to fly? Well, yes, it is super expensive to fly. But going through the 141 program at UCM or any college really, you kind of get some help with the finances.
But I found in life that people make money for what they find important.
Right.
If a guy's hobby is golfing, he's got to buy him a several $1,000 set of golf clubs, and the next thing you know, he's got to be playing in Hawaii and he's got to be playing in California and he's got to be going to all these tournaments and whatever, and he's got to be buying all this extra equipment. If a guy owns a boat and a house on the lake, how much does that cost?
Oh, yeah.
People have money to spend. It's where do you want to spend it? And for me, it was aviation. As soon as I had the green light, I lost most of my other hobbies. I used to golf, and I quit golfing after that because aviation was my hobby.
Right, and golf's also expensive.
It is expensive. So is fishing, and so is
everything.
Having a fancy boat on the lake, and
Right.
it's all cost money.
It does all cost money, yes. Yeah. So with all of your experience and all of your time doing this stuff, what would be one thing that you would tell a new student who's thinking about coming to aviation but not quite sure?
Most of the time, probably the most primary message I give them is hang in there. Most people get talked out of stuff easy. Like I was in high school. Everybody was against me being a pilot in high school. And so I just let everybody talk me out of it. Sometimes you got to go against the flow if you want to stay in this industry. You're going to have to stand up for yourself, and sometimes when people tell you no, you have to keep moving along and just say, okay, well, that's your opinion. I'm going to continue on. We've had a number of students here, notably through the years, that they were challenged to start with, and they were counseled often, you really need to drop out, but they said, no, I'm not doing this. This is all I've ever wanted to do in my whole life, and they turned out to do a very good job of being a pilot for commercial enterprises. Some of them are flight instructors, some of them airlines, whatever, but they stuck with it, and they made it work.
That's awesome.
Yep.
Yeah, so just stick with it.
Stick with it.
Yeah. Even if you're not doing the best.
It is expensive.
Yep.
Figure out a way to work around that and move on.
Chair fly. That's a big one.
Big one?
Yeah.
Simulators cut your costs substantially.
Yep. That's about all the flying I do anymore. It sounds terrible, but that's how I get my fix sometimes.
I had a guy here in town, businessman here in town, that he hadn't flown in 30 years, and he wanted me to help him with a project. So we got in an airplane, went somewhere, and I said, "You want to fly?" "Oh, absolutely." And he could do everything but land the airplane perfectly. He was so good that when we got to altitude, it was a bumpy day. I tried to distract him to see if he'd get off altitude. He did a marvelous job. So when we got home and landed, I said, "Why don't you," and he was a pilot, he just hadn't owned an airplane for years. I said, "Why aren't you still flying?" And he said, "Well, there was an incident years ago. My partner and I bought an airplane together, and he went out and killed himself in it. My wife said, 'You're done flying.'" And so he said, I said, "I fly simulators all the time." And he eventually, finally, his wife let him get back into flying, and he got back into flying. One of my greater success stories, in my opinion, was getting a guy that's out of aviation for 30 years back into owning an airplane and being a general aviation pilot.
Yeah.
Most pilots, when you reach a certain hour, you learn more that you don't realize that you know, and you can tell more by what's going on outside the airplane. Most people are too focused on the dash inside, which really isn't that helpful.
Right.
What's going on outside is, under VFR conditions, is more helpful. And I had a flight instructor when I first came here, my chief flight instructor here. First, when I was interviewing to get the job, have to do a stand ride here. He pulled a map out of the back seat and put it over the windshield. We'd already done 2 or 3 landings, so he was happy with landings. And he put that map and says, "Okay, now take me around the pattern." I go, "I can't do that." "Why not?" "Well, I can't see the airspeed indicator." And he said, "You don't need that. You got 400 hours in your logbook. You can do this without that." And so I did, and we were around the pattern. It was the most beautiful thing I've ever seen. And for the first time, I realized you understand and you perceive a lot more than you know. You don't have to see this down here. You can tell it by the sensations and by looking outside what's going on. That was a great learning lesson for me.
That's awesome. All right, last question before I gotta go.
Okay.
I ask everybody the same question. If money was no factor, so you didn't have to worry about how much it cost or the upkeep or where you're gonna keep it at or anything like that, which aircraft would you buy for personal use and why?
Probably a J3 Cub, because they're so primitive and so easy to fly.
So the old 80 horse.
65 horse J3 Cub, no electrical system.
Just
You have to hand prop them to start them.
there you go.
Yep.
All right.
That'd probably be the one.
You're the second person I've had on here that said a Cub.
J3 Cub.
Yeah.
But Super Cub has all the electrical stuff. It has all the fancy
it's
stuff.
All the fancy.
J3 Cub doesn't have any of that.
Yep. That's awesome. But yeah, Cub has been a very popular answer.
It is.
The J3 is a little different because it's a little lower and slower kind of flying. Right. I appreciate you taking the time to do this interview with me. Okay. We'll have to meet up sometime outside of this.
Sounds good.
We'll have coffee and maybe you can take me flying.
Sounds good.
All right. Bill.
All right.
Thank you, sir.